Good morning, everyone. How are you all? I hope you are okay. Hope you had some rest. Today we will go into our final workshop. I hope you are enjoying this week. I know it's a lot of information, a lot of work, especially because you don't only stay with us the 3 hours, but you also have to have the time to interact with the other ones. And I think this is the greatest part in our projects, like when you are working together, learning together and developing the project itself. And I hope we have an amazing last workshop day. And next week we will be all in our mentoring sessions. Hope will be amazing too. And I want to pass the floor to Professor Victoria Mutran. She is a professor in our team here at Cesupa. She's brilliant. She already lived abroad. She has done amazing stuff, and she also has a company that works doing business in Amazon. And she will talk more about her life and her experience. And I'm very thankful for your your participation here with us, Professor Victoria. Thank you so much for your time, and the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kyle. It's always a pleasure to be participating in the Amazon experience. Hello, everyone. This is the first time I'm speaking to most of you. So I'd just like to say I'm really happy that you guys joined this experience with us. I hope you're having fun so far. And today, our goal is to actually put you in the right track to start actually developing your startups, your business ideas. I'm just gonna share my screen here with my presentation so we can start. Can you all see my screen?
Yep, you're fine.
Okay, so today we're going to discuss sustainable business models and lean canvas. As Professor Kyle mentioned, I'm Victoria Mutran. I am an industrial engineer by, it was my undergrad. And I also did a PhD in industrial engineering. I concluded it last year in November at University of São Paulo. While I was in the United States, and there I was able to participate in a certificate of entrepreneurship and innovation, which was the first actual contact that I had with this world of startups and innovative businesses. While at Purdue as well, I started also working as a researcher. It was I had an experience, a summer experience as a researcher, and that was more or less what made me want to go to graduate school eventually. And during my PhD, I also did part of my research at Imperial College London. I finished my PhD, I finished the research, and I decided to come back to Belém, where my family has a business in the Amazon. It's a Brazil nut processing company. It started with my grandfather over 50 years ago. And today we have a very big industrial plant focused on the processing of Brazil nuts. So we receive the Brazil nuts from the forest and we process them so they turn into the Brazil nut kernels that you guys probably eat in your supermarket or you find in your supermarkets abroad. Since I had this experience with startups at Purdue, when I came back to Belém, I decided to get involved in many activities related to innovation. So I participated in a startup weekend that was held in Belém in 2014. And from there on, I've been involved in many activities with the community, the local community for innovation, which is called Açaí Valley. And I am also a global facilitator for Startup Weekend, which is, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar, but it's a program during a weekend that you arrive with an idea, and you're expected to form teams and develop this idea into a startup within 54 hours. Well, so this is just a overall background on who I am. And I'd like to hear, since this is our first interaction, I'd like to hear a little bit about you guys as well. So please, if you will, just go on your phone or your computer and type www.menti.com and add this code here. So you guys can type there your name and state in one phrase what you think it's your main purpose in life. Your main purpose in life. What it's the thing that you're here for. Let me see if I can share my screen.
Yeah, we can see it now, Professor.
So don't forget to add your name. Like let's say Victoria, and then my main purpose in life is I want to develop innovative businesses in the Amazon. Only one person so far interacting. Where are you guys? Nice. More people? Make something that changes the life of people in the region. Want my family to live a satisfied life. It's very nice. I can see some trends here. So happiness, like I guess most people are seeking happiness in life, but there's also in mainly in your guys's generation. I guess my generation is still included. We have this big feeling that we want to make a difference in the world and become a better person and develop other people around us. So that's very nice. You can see that as a trend also in you guys' responses. Challenge yourself, have fun. Very, very nice. Let's see, Jonathan, let's leave my mark on the world. Yes. Nice, guys. Let's go back. That's very nice. The idea of this exercise was not only to understand um, what your purpose is, but also to try to state in one phrase what is your value proposition for your life. So basically, when you state in that phrase, you know that you want to to be happy or to leave a mark in the world or to change the reality of people in your region. That is the goal. That is what you're looking for in your life. We're going to discuss today business models and concepts and examples. We're going to talk about Lean Canvas a little bit, which is a tool to help entrepreneurs to think about business models, innovative business models mainly. And we're going to discuss sustainable sources of revenue in the context of the Amazon forest, and see a little bit of the business that are already in place. But first, I'd like to start off with the definition of what is a business model. And basically, it's the rationale that describes how an organization creates, delivers, and captures value. And all of this is built on the concept of a value proposition. So what is the mark you want to leave in the world? What is your purpose, basically? What is the company's purpose of existing? Similarly to what you guys are trying to propose as your purpose in life, we also want to discover and to state in a clear manner what is the purpose of our businesses, the businesses that we are proposing to exist. In the past, and not very far away past, people and entrepreneurs were asked to build a business plan, which was basically a document with a description, a very detailed description of everything that a company would do. So you had an executive summary with, you know, a description of the company, why it existed, and then you would build a very detailed management plan, a marketing plan, a technological plan, and a financial plan. And the idea was that you spent a lot of time before you actually made an investment researching about that concept of a business. And also it was a way of making your investors believe that your business would be financially feasible. The thing is, most of those documents were not even read by the investors. And when you're in the context of a very innovative and ever-changing world as we are today, so competitive as it is, when you finally finish this business plan, which, I mean, it's a detailed description of your business, so it took a while to make it, to prepare it, normally a few months. When people actually finally finish those business plans, they were already outdated, or your business was already not competitive enough. Or even like you spent all of this time thinking about business, and when you actually went into developing it, you know, actually putting things in place and trying to develop the business, you would realize that many things had to change because your ideas of a business, of the business, would change with your interactions with your customers, etc. So in order to change this reality and improve the development of new businesses, especially in the innovation and technology world, Alexander Osterwalder developed the business model canvas, which was his PhD thesis, and he was trying to innovate in the design and the way people create a business model. So he proposed a canvas a big board, which was a tool that promoted understanding, discussion, creativity, and analysis. This is an example of what his business model canvas what it is. Here in the center, it's the value proposition. So what is your business trying to bring as a value to the customers? Then you would have the customer segments, who you are trying to reach, the channels that you would use to reach your customers, how you would build relationship with customers, the key partners that would help you develop your business, the key activities that you have to take to make in order to create your value proposition, and the key resources involved in this process. And here in the bottom, you would have the financial parts, which were the cost structure, the main costs that were associated with your business, and the revenue stream. So how you would make money from your products or services, or the value that you would be delivering to your customer. So basically, he was trying to answer a few questions. What is your business delivering? How you will deliver this product or service, and for whom it is this product and service. And finally, you would have to think about the financial issues, because it's very important, even when we are thinking about sustainable, innovative, social businesses, to understand the financial issues related, because even people that work by idealism, for example, they still have to make money to survive. So it is very important for companies, even NGOs or social companies, to think about the financial structure of their business. Well, business model canvas is still very used in the world today. It's one of the main tools used in the world, but eventually started evolving as well as people looked into it and saw that there was an opportunity to adapt it more towards the steps that entrepreneurs were taking in the startup business. And Ash Maurya proposed a new canvas format called Lean Canvas, because he wanted to make it more problem-centric and customer-centric. So trying to actually bring into the canvas the idea of what were the steps that every entrepreneur in the startup world was doing. So Ash Maurya said that you have to love the problem, not the solution. And for that, he proposed, that the Lean Canvas should your business be customer centric. So your customer is what is giving you all the ideas that you have to do for your business. And here we have a quote that says, "The purpose of a business is to create a customer." So basically, everything that we are creating in a business is to meet some sort of a customer demand. So if there's no demand from that customer, he's not going to buy from you. So that's why you have to really understand your customer, understand his demands, understand his problems, understand what are the things that they're still not very happy with, or there's still room for improvement that they're going to get from your product, your service. So the difference here in the Lean Canvas is that they substituted a few blocks from the traditional canvas. Instead of speaking of key partners, you would now focus on the problem. And you have to understand what is your customer's problem, what are the main issues that the market is not actually addressing yet in his or her life. Then you move on to a solution, proposing a solution. for these problems. And there must be a way of measuring how your business is doing, if the business is actually being effective in delivering the solution, in addressing the customer problems, in meeting the customer demand. So you have to build some key metrics in order to be able to evaluate this. And another thing that Moria switched in comparison with the traditional business models Canvas is that instead of customer relationships, he said the businesses should be able to state an unfair advantage. So basically a competitive advantage that they have in comparison with the other people in the industry, in the sector, in the market. So people are going to choose to buy from you instead of buying from somebody else. So this is the Lean Canvas. This is the overall picture of it. And a few other things that it's important to understand who would be the early adopters, the first people that are going to adopt your idea, your business idea. And when you're stating the problem, in addition to stating top 3 problems that you think that your customer has and propose a solution for it, it's also important to think of how they are solving these problems today, how they are dealing with these problems today. Because that's going to help you understand deeply the problem and understand how you can actually propose a solution that it's better than what they're doing today. Another thing that it's very nice to use when you're using a value proposition, stating the reason why a company exists, what it's proposing as a value for the society, for the customers, for the market, is that you can use what they call a high-level concept. Let's say YouTube is actually the Flickr for videos. So you use a different company that has a similar business model or a similar value proposition, and you place it in your context. So Flickr was an already existent platform for pictures. And when people developed YouTube, basically, they wanted to develop the idea of Flickr, very similar idea, but for video. I'm not going to go through this feature in detail. I just wanted to show you guys a few details here, and then I'll share the presentation afterwards so you can look, have a closer look. But basically, when in this book, talking about Lean Canvas, Ash Maurya, he discussed 3 stages of a startup. So first you have to have a problem and solution fit, which is basically finding a real problem in the world, finding a real market, a real customer demand that they need to have addressed. They need to have it addressed, and trying to develop a solution for it. So this is going to be an interactive process. So you first propose, you first understand and validate that the problem exists. That means you're going to have to do some sort of a market research or interviews with your customers, go and talk to people and actually realize how how this problem influences their lives. Then you start proposing solutions. And as you propose them, you're probably going to have to adjust in the process. So it's a continuous adjustment, problem, solution, adjustment, problem, solution, adjustment. Then you move on, only then you move on to actually having a product, a real product, and fitting it into a market. So after you've did all of these iterations to propose a solution that has a fit for that problem, you develop a product. You understand? Like it's you have to wait a long time to actually have a product that is to actually start producing your product, to actually go into the market, um, and and then you do a market fit. So you go, you propose your product, and then you fit that into a specific market, and you propose a go-to-market strategy, and oops, sorry, a go-to-market strategy, and you start selling the product to your customers. And finally, after all of this process, you start scaling up. So then you focus on selling more and more and more. So here, this week, I believe that we're going to focus only on the problem and solution fit, which will involve some sort of development of the idea of a product, or what we call a minimal viable product, an MVP. And so you're able to do this problem and solution fit in the first moment. And after you have this all figured out, so you understand actually what the problem is, what the solution should be, and then you guys are going to move on to developing your product and put it into the market. So in running lean, you first understand the problem. So here, okay, the customer cannot cross from one side to the other. Then you define what the solution is. So, okay, I should build a bridge. And you validate qualitatively what is the solution. So I just build a bridge, like even if it's not a final version of the bridge, but I built something that makes it possible for the customer to go. And then finally, you verify quantitatively what, you make people cross and see if this bridge is going to actually work. Okay, so when we're talking about the problem, the majority of the startups, they fail because they wasted time constructing the wrong product. And it is important to understand the real need, pain of the customer before spending time designing the solution product. So basically, that's why we have to spend a lot of time in this first part, which is the problem and solution fit, because you really have to understand what the actual need is, what the actual market opportunity is. And that's only done when you really understand the problem that your customers have. Then here are two important steps. You first have to do a statement, a problem statement, which is stating what actually is the problem that your customer has. So building a hypothesis on, okay, I think my customer has a problem of transportation from point A to point B, getting a taxi from point A to point B. And then you go and validate that a problem actually exists. You go and talk to your customers, you go and observe how your customers actually work. Okay, my customer doesn't need to find a taxi because he works in front of a place where there's lots of taxis sitting there the entire day. So that's not a problem for them, but it is a problem for a person that, works far away and there's no taxi in the region, and they keep calling this taxi number that never comes. So for that other customer segment, it might be important to have Easy Taxi, for example, or 99 taxis, or even Uber. So a problem well stated is a problem half solved. If you really understand your customers' demands, your customers' needs, what the customer actually has as an issue in his life that needs some sort of solution, then you are halfway there into proposing a successful business. An idea of problem validation and that I thought is very interesting is that I don't know if you guys are familiar, but London is the city that has a very well developed transportation system, the city transportation. And the underground in London, it's basically connects people everywhere. And if you know something about the British, you're gonna know that they're very punctual. They are always on time. So the London Underground is was built to be very efficient in terms of time and never in trying to be as punctual as on time as possible. So I guess we have like a service level of around 90 or 90 something percent. And they were trying to, increase their customer satisfaction. So they went and talked to the customers everywhere, and they asked, "Oh, is the train always on time? Is the underground always on time?" And people would complain, "Oh no, it's never on time. Every time I get here, it says it's gonna be here at 12:02, and it actually arrives at 12:05 or something like that." And so they spend a lot of, so they wanted to increase this customer satisfaction. So they spend a lot of money in in developing the underground and improving their systems and increasing the number of trains, etc. And spent like millions and millions of pounds on that. And eventually they went back and talked again with, the customers and asked, "Oh, what is your perception? Is the tube always on time? Is the train always on time?" And they said, "No, it's never on time. It's like every time I get here, it says it's going to arrive at 10:01 and it arrives at 10:10 or something like that." So they started thinking that was weird. And then they actually did what they were supposed to do the first time. They asked questions, further questions. So they said, "But why? Why do you think it's not on time? Like when you get here, we improved all of this. We improved all of this in our system, and it actually is on time most of like 97% of the time. The train arrives right when we promised." So what is funny is that they found out that the people thought the train was never on time because they were using their personal watches to measure what time the train arrived. And they noticed that people didn't have the watches all set at the same time. So how did they change this? They added clocks in every station. And then the perception of the customer changed completely. And they finally understood that the problem was not improving the system, was actually giving the customer the right information about the time. So they would have a better understanding. You see, like when you don't ask the right questions, when you don't really understand your customer, it's much, much, much harder to build a product that's going to fully satisfy them. And that's the point of doing a proper problem validation, like really understanding what the customer's problems is, what customer's issues is, so you can address them properly. In this case, they would have saved millions of pounds in the situation. And that's the same example of many, many companies when they are trying to bring new products into the market. Okay, so let's go back to Menti. It's the same code that we used the last time. And I'd like you guys to list some problems that you think that could turn into businesses in the Amazon. I guess by now you guys already have an idea of what you want to develop. So let's try to think about some problems, the real problems, but not the solutions, the problem itself that we could address with a business model or a business solution. Logistic, okay. Access do the local people trust the business? That's a good one. A conscious, conscious use of local materials as well as the valorization of local labor, legislation, technology, innovation, cultural differences, doing a business that does not preserve the continuity of the raw material, forest, transportation, the absence of technology, infrastructure, transportation. What would be legislation for you? The person that talked about legislation, you can open the mic and discuss a little bit.
Hello, Victoria. It was me that put it legislation.
So why do you think legislation is a problem for the Amazon?
Not to the Amazon. What I tried to say that is maybe could be a problem to start a business because you have to follow some kind of laws.
Okay. So the bureaucracy of Brazil in general is what hinders the new businesses, and that affects the Amazon as well, right?
Yeah, it was what I tried to say.
Okay, nice. Let's see what else.
Professor Victoria, here in our chat, Henrique said maybe some environmental laws.
Okay. Yeah, we would have to look deeply into the environmental law part, but my personal opinion is that we should build businesses in the Amazon that are actually more sustainable than what the law asks us for. So basically, completely not only completely meeting the law, but actually doing more. Legislation between countries, that's true. I mean, sometimes it's harder to export because of legislation. Okay, let's go back. So we have here logistics, infrastructure, lack of technology and innovation, maybe like the existence of businesses that are not sustainable or that don't preserve the continuity of the forest. So basically, deforestation in general is a problem. And the bureaucratic world of Brazil, but innovation it's basically coming up as one of the main topics. Okay, let's go back. Nice. Okay, so after we understand the problem, we state the problem, we make hypotheses about it, right? And so I'm saying, okay, in the Amazon, there's a big problem with logistics, and I can be more specific. In the Brazil nut sector, in the Amazon, logistics is a big problem. So it's hard for the collectors to do the logistics from the forest to the processing plants. That's my problem statement. I'm stating that there's a problem, a specific problem regarding logistics from the forest to, the processing plants, the places where the products are going to be industrialized. So after I understand this, I hypothesize about it. I make a market research, and I understand the full process. Then I start validating that this problem actually exists. So I talk to collectors, I talk to processing plants, I talk to people that do the logistics now. I understand how the logistics is done now. And then I go back and I say, okay, I understood the problem fully, and now I'm able to propose a solution. So having well understood the problem, let's go to the step of defining and testing the solution. The solution is a purposefully small box because in the canvas, because the solution needs to be concisely written and specific. So keeping the solution box small also aligns well with the concept of a minimal viable product, as I mentioned a little bit earlier. The MVP is a concept from this technology and innovation world, which basically is a simple form of your product that is meant for you to kickstart the learning feedback process that I mentioned, the loop learning feedback between problem definition, problem statement, problem validation, solution definition, statement, solution validation. And it's supposed to be put in the market as quickly as possible with the minimum set of features required to engage the early adopters. Let's give you an example. The MVP must require the least amount of effort and resources. So you have to spend the least amount of money, people, time, and processes, but you have to be able to have sufficient features to attract customers to pay for your product. So basically, it's the first version of your product that delivers the value proposition. The easiest way of doing it. And the MVP also needs to have a form of feedback mechanism, so you understand what the feedback report is from the users, and uses it to improve the whole concept of your product. An example would be that an MVP for a car wouldn't be first having one tire and then two tires and then having the car structure and then having the final car. Because in none of these earlier steps, you are delivering the value proposition of your car, which is to bring the person from point A to point B, to be a means of transportation. You only start having the value proposition when you have the full product ready, and that requires a lot of investment, time, work, people, processes. So the MVP for this would actually be, first you have a skate, and then you have a scooter, and then you have a bicycle, and then you have a motorcycle, and finally you have a car. So in all of these steps, you're able to bring a person from point A to point B, and you can understand, okay, this is nice. It has four not tires. How do you say this? Well, it brings people from one place to the other, but it's not as easy to stand on it. So I'm just gonna add something so people can hold on. But this is not as fast, and you actually use a lot of power, a lot of energy from the person. So I'm gonna rebuild the model so it's easier to to go faster with less energy from the person driving. And then you build a motor with an engine that is able to, bring you faster and with much less energy, personal energy. And then finally, you bring into the market the car. So you understand the concept of an MVP, a minimal viable product. You're expected to start producing and putting into the market to test a product that people are going to pay for it. Early adopters are going to pay for it, and they're going to give you feedbacks on how you can improve it every step of the way until you finally have your final product in the market. Key metrics are important because it's a way of you measuring if your startup or your business is on track in a good track, in a successful track. And startups should avoid creating multiple metrics and numbers in an attempt to reduce uncertainty, because the idea is to focus on a few key metrics that are going to help you actually understand if your product service is developing the value proposition that you're aiming for. A startup can only focus on one metric, so you have to decide what that is and ignore everything else. So I want to focus on the number of customers that I can acquire per month, for example, or the number of collectors that I want to add to my business platform per month. So that's a way that I can see if I am improving my business proposition, or even I want to increase the sales or the customer satisfaction or something like that. And finally, the last one is the unfair advantage. So this is basically another name for competitive advantage or barriers of new entrants. And Moria believes that new startups will have an unfair advantage to fill in this box. They won't have it in the beginning of the business model construction, but the purpose of putting it there is to encourage entrepreneurs to always be in search of this differential, which is essential to keep them in increasingly competitive market. When we're talking about a business in the Amazon, I always say that the key unfair advantage is that the Amazon has millions of varieties of new plants and possible products that can be developed, and they are only present here most of the time. So if you can make a successful product from the Amazon and you have some sort of local person involved, then you already have an unfair advantage for understanding deeply the region and understanding deeply the challenges and making that business possible. A true unfair advantage is something that cannot be easily copied or bought. So you cannot easily copy the Amazon forest, for example, or buy it. So if you're thinking about an innovative business for here, then you're entering in a niche that is very, that has a lot of potential. Okay, let's see a few examples. So Amazon found that the problem that they were trying to address is that there was a lack of online bookstores at the time that they were built in 1994. It was hard to select books in offline stores. So no ratings, recommendations, hard to find a book, etc. The alternatives that existed at the time were few interlock and local booksellers and Barnes and Nobles. So people could actually use these alternatives if Amazon didn't exist, but there were some sort of problems that weren't addressed by them. So the solution that they proposed was to build an online bookstore with millions of titles available for people everywhere. And the value proposition was to buy books using a PC from home or your office without having to visit several local stores to find a particular book. So if I want to do this in a high level word concept, I would have to say Earth's biggest bookstore for the Amazon. So that's like how I describe it in a very easy way. What is the unfair advantage of Amazon? It has a lower price, and at the time, it had no competition for online booksellers. Let's see another one. Here, there are some examples. Airbnb, for example, it started because it was hard to find cheap, affordable accommodation options when traveling. And staying in hotels, travelers cannot get authentic experiences of a location, and it's not easy for a homeowner to monetize vacant areas on a day-to-day basis. See, here there are two problems that are addressed by Airbnb to two different customer segments. They were trying to acquire the travelers that were looking for accommodation and people having some accommodation options to become a host. And for each one of them, there are a few problems that Airbnb was trying to address. There were bookings and hotels.com, but none of them proposed the idea of having a regular person hosting people in their homes. So they proposed this online service to connect to travelers with people that had affordable places to rent in a local business, in a local area. And their unique value proposition was travelers can get authentic experience of local area and extra monetization of vacant areas for homeowners. So the high level concept is everyone can become a host and share an economy. Airbnb is a very important example of a startup that started from a real problem that the co-founders felt at the time. So another moment of interaction, let's go back there to the Menti. So you guys can tell me a little bit about what solutions you believe we could have here in the Amazon. Let me check here. Medicine, integration, culture, tourism, history, cosmetics. honey, guaraná, culture, organic food, perfume. No more ideas. Animals, animals. Anything else? Food. Plastic. Nice, nice one, plastic. Okay, let's go back. I thought it was interesting that medicine is among the main ones in culture as well. Sound and smells of the Amazon. Okay, let's go back so we have more time to work on our project after. Okay, so now that we learned about sustainable business models and that we understand more or less what a lean canvas is and how to build the idea of your model, your business model, let's discuss a little bit about what sustainability is and how this can apply to a business concept in the Amazon. Well, sustainability is the ability to be maintained at a certain rate of or level. And basically, it's avoidance of the depletion of natural resources in order to maintain an ecological balance. When we are speaking about sustainability, we are talking about three different factors that should be considered. The social aspect, which is basically the quality of life of people living in that place, their education levels, the community development, equal opportunities, law, and ethics. We are talking about economics as well. So smart growth, which is growing with scaling up in a way that you are not depleting your resources, and you're making the best use of the resources that you have. Long range planning, cost savings, R&D spending, and cost of living. So basically, people have to be able to spend less, and make more with the same resources that they have. Basically, economic growth, right? So you're trying to improve the use of the resources that you have in that local area to grow economically. And finally, the environmental aspect, which is basically the resource management, environmental protection, habitat restoration, and preservation. When we include all three of these aspects, we are looking into sustainability. So we are trying to build a business that will improve the life of people that live in the Amazon region, that will bring economic growth using the least resources possible, and that will avoid the deployment of natural resources. So basically, we are trying to maintain the resources that we have here and use them in a way that They are always available, but they bring the best outcome to our people and to our economy. This is called the Economia da Floresta em Pé in Portuguese, which is basically the economy of the standing forest, translating to English. And there are 3 points, 3 potential uses for it to develop this economy. First is the wild collection, which is the main part done today. So the sustainable wild collection is a way of obtaining income with the non-wood forest products, while at the same time preserving the native forest of the Amazon. And it's basically people that live in the traditional areas of the Amazon. They go into the forest, they collect what is available there on the floors, on the ground, and then they sell it some way. There's the second way that people can make money in this economy is through verticalization of processing. So basically, it's trying to aggregate some value through the processing of those raw materials that are collected from the forest, or using them as resources for the production of other products. Some examples here are the shelling Brazil nuts, like we do in our company, producing chocolate from cocoa, from wild cocoa available in the Amazon. And finally, the last way, in which is the one that I think we should focus, is the new product design and development. When I'm teaching innovation this semester, and one thing that we discussed in class recently is that innovation is seen as one of the main components that bring economic growth into economies everywhere in the world. So the key word here is innovation. It's the concept that we're trying to build. The Amazon 4.0 is like trying to bring innovative products, new way of doing things, new processes, new business models, new services to be applied in the countless resources available in the Amazon forest, in trying to use them in a way that brings more economic growth, smart growth, that develop the lives of people that live here so they can have better lives, have higher education levels, have more income, and also preserve the resources, the natural resources of the forest. So basically being sustainable. A few examples of in the Amazon that are already businesses that take place here. One is the Brazil nuts, which are the Amazonian nuts, as we call them. And they play an important role in the lives of many families living in the Amazon forest, because this is one of the main products that work in the wild collection, because they have commercial value. And one of the most traditional products of the forest with the most well-developed chains is it's been explored for over 100 years now, and it has a very well-developed market abroad as well for the shelled Brazil nuts. A second one that has become an important product also for exporting is the açaí, which is traditional on the Amazonian table. Like everybody here eats açaí in a day-to-day basis. But açaí has conquered the world now, and very recently starting to be a product that is important elsewhere in the world. And it's now a valued product, and I guess it has actually surpassed Brazil nuts in terms of market size. Cocoa, also the wild collection of cocoa. I didn't know this before, but and actually that made me very surprised that Pará is the largest producer of wild cocoa in Brazil. But we don't have a very well-developed processing industry in the state. So that means that we don't have large-scale production of chocolate, or we don't actually process the cocoa here in order to bring more economic growth. So we are just exporting the raw material to be processed elsewhere. which is bad because when we are not processing here, we are if we process it here, we could get more jobs, etc. Fish is also very important. So like the Amazon has the largest hydrographic basin in the world. And the Amazon has thousands of the Amazon River has thousands of species of fish, many of which are consumed locally. And in the last few years, the fishing industry has continued to develop and grow, and has reached several regions of Brazil and the world. Right next to my company, there's a company, a fish industry that is exporting fish from the Amazon to China and to many other markets in Europe, etc. Rubber also responsible. It was one of the main sources of income, of revenue in the Amazon a couple of centuries ago, and it was responsible for what they call the Amazonian Ballet Park, because it brought a lot of money to the region until it was copied and somebody took parts of our plant and planted it elsewhere, and then we lost the competitive advantage, the unfair advantage. I guess you guys probably discussed a little bit about this earlier during this week. And finally, the indigenous cuisine has become also an important part of our, how do I say this, of our financial assets, actually, because it's become very spread across Brazil as a cuisine that can bring eccentric spices, eccentric new food, etc. So with the indigenous cuisine, there's tucupi, tacacá, jambu, and then some more innovative products like the cachaça jambu, the cupuaçu chocolates, using all of the Amazonian fruits for ice cream, etc. A few other examples, the kaya paws fabric. So fabrics in the Amazon are also a potential for a new industry that can be well developed. It's sustainable fabric from the forest. The ecotourism is also a potential. In Manaus, in the Amazonas state region, they explore it way more than here in Belém, for example. And then a few other examples like açaí and as superfoods, the alternative sources of protein, which we can address here. We can give him here the example of the Brazil nuts, cachaça de jambu, which is an alcoholic drink that has become very famous in Brazil, and the Amazonian chocolate. If we were able to develop more this industry, we could make a better use of our cocoa. I did this market research with the Brazil nuts to see what other applications they had in addition to the shelled Brazil nuts that we commercialize here in our company. So basically now Brazil nuts are used as ingredients for bread, toast, and derived products. They're used as cereal bars, cookies, mix of nuts, etc. So a lot of companies are using it as a raw material. And sweets, so cakes, Nestle uses them as being part of their chocolate bars, granolas, milk, oils, cosmetics. Natura, a Brazilian company, has a lot of projects here in the Amazon with the Brazil nuts. Similar to peanut butter, Brazil nut butter is also available, and ice cream. So those are the products that, like the products that use Brazil nuts as resources that we found here in a market research to see that there are many applications that you can use that add more value to the product and develop more, bring more economic growth. So do you have questions so far? Do you have any questions? Let me see the chat here. All good. My computer's about to die. Questions? Does it all make sense for you guys? The idea of building a business model, what a business model is, and how to use Lean Canvas to develop your business ideas, and what sustainability is in terms of business models. Does it all make sense? Well, if yes, then let's move on to our activity. So we had more or less 1 hour and 20 minutes of talks, and now we're going to try developing this business model canvas to your ideas for this week, okay? For this project.
Professor?
The first question is, who are your customers? Oh, sorry, Kyle?
So, Professor Victoria, could you also write these questions in their chat? Because when we send them to the breakout room, they will not see this room anymore. So just for them to have the question as a guide for when they go to the breakout room, they can work on that.
Okay, let me try. I don't know why it's not. Okay, let's see. Okay, chat. So the first question is that you guys have to answer is, who are your customers and what are their needs, problems? Then after you understand, you make hypotheses on what their needs and problems are. You're now going to have time to validate that this is actually true, but at least have an idea and discuss it deeply, what their needs and problems are. Then you go on and ask, what solution can you propose to them? And what is the simplest, fastest way to deliver and test it? State your value proposition. So basically here, you understood what your customers, who they are and what their problems are. So now you move on to proposing a solution in a very simple way and saying how you're gonna do the minimum viable product. So, okay, so my solution, my customers' problems are that they cannot find a taxi when they go out in the city. And what is the solution? I'm going to build a platform that connects available taxi drivers with the customers. How I'm going to do this? I'm going to have a list of taxis that are willing to participate in my project and that I can call whenever I have a customer. And then when I'm going to leave, a landing page or a telephone available for people to call me, and I redirect a taxi exactly to where they are. That's my minimum viable product. And then you state your value proposition. My value proposition is to connect. I connect to taxi drivers with customers anywhere they are in the fastest possible way. How will you make money? So the last question is, how will you make money with this business? What is your proposed business model? In this part, if I'm talking about Easy Taxi, for example, my proposed business model is that I'm going to charge the taxis a small fee when they receive for the payment for that ride. Okay, so here you guys are gonna have 1 hour and a half to start working on your lean canvas, and you guys have to work specifically on those 3 questions in that way, in that same order. Okay, so you first define who are your customers and what are the problems and needs. Once you really understand what the problems and needs are, you move on to the solution, and then you say how you're going to test it and to build a minimal viable product. And then while also stating your value proposition, and then you move on to how to make money part. Okay.
Just to
Hi,
give
I
some
think we're
infos.
ready.
Yeah, just to give some infos, Professor Victoria, she will be entering in all the rooms too to have a small talks with you. But today, just to be fair, we will be starting with the last group, number 8, and then we go 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then I will be also, after 30 minutes, I will be also entering in the rooms. So just for the project itself, if you have any questions about next week, just to if you have any questions for me, okay? So I will send you all now to the breakout room. Please take note of the 3 questions that Professor Victoria put in our chat. I will be sending again for you, but just have with you and start working. And then Professor Victoria will be entering in all the rooms to help you out, okay? See you soon. So breakout room open, all the rooms. We should be receiving now the invitations. You should be receiving now the invitations, and then you can go to your rooms. Okay, people are already going to their room. Let's see if anybody's missing. Professor Victoria, the way it is that you go in a breakout room, and then when you finish talking to them, you go leave the breakout room, then you're gonna come back here, and you just say okay to me, and then I put you in the next room, okay?
Okay.
Professor Florin, thank you so much for you to be here. And I will also put you in different groups so you can also hear them working, okay?
Yes. I will stay another half an hour just to see the process.
Oh, great. Thank you so much, Professor. So, Victoria, I will put now you on room 8, okay?
Okay.
It should appear a pop. I'm sorry, I sent it myself. It's here,
Okay.
group 8. Now, here we go. Should pop up something for you. It did. Yeah. And Carlos is in group number 6. Oh, what is Carlos here? Carlos, can you hear me? Oh, okay, great. Room 6. I think you should be able now to go to room 6, Carlos. Yeah, great. So, hey, my friend, great to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you. Just coming from my snowy city, it was a lot of snow.
Oh, even snowing today now.
Big snow. Even normally now in the spring.
But it's normally to be snowing now, or
No, but in the last 10, 15 years, the seasons little bit shifted. So the first serious snow, it's at the end of December, not at the beginning, and we can expect to have snow even at the beginning of April.
oh, that's interesting.
But,
Because
yeah,
now it should be already starting to get warmer for the spring.
yeah,
I think, yeah,
exactly. We are in the spring, yes.
the weather is getting all mixed
Yeah.
up.
And all your activities are online now in
Yeah,
Belém.
we are in a lockdown now because things are
All
getting,
the country, all the country,
no,
yes.
just our province here
All the,
is in the
okay.
state. Yes, this the state province there where Belém it is, and but the just the capital, Belém, is in the lockdown now because the number of cases in the second waves are getting huge. So for our health system don't get in a collapse, they put it as in lockdown. So we are doing home office since last Tuesday,
The
and I
same
believe
was in Fortaleza. I also
exactly,
had a
exactly.
meeting. My friends from Fortaleza, from Unicristus, and also they are.
Yeah, it's, I don't know if it's the best solution, but we need to do something because our health system doesn't have the capacity to receive all the numbers of people needing to go to a hospital and things. So it's one of the possible solutions, and that's great that our business as an university we can adapt to the online mode, but a lot of business they cannot do that. So we are starting to feel really afraid about the crisis that's coming because last year we had a lockdown too for 20 days, and then a lot of companies they just end their operation because they break actually. And I hope we don't have that many companies that break this year, and I hope that we have a shorter lockdown, at least like the maximum 2 weeks. But we have no clue about how the governor will manage this situation. But it's terrible times, and we need to adapt and do our sacrifice, I think. How was it in Romania? Did you have to go to a lockdown in any point? How did the
Mm,
pandemic works there?
now we are at the beginning, almost to the peak of the third wave. Um we still hope that, but we still hope that we can avoid a national lockdown. But the decision it's taken city by city or
Oh, got it.
all
According
administrative.
according to the situation, like if the
Yeah.
cities,
For example, my city now we are 6.3 number of cases per thousand. Normally, after having 5 days or of being above six, the decision have to be to go to the lockdown for 2 weeks.
well,
So I'm expecting that starting from the next Friday or next Saturday to go in the lockdown. But this lockdown it's not so tight like it was last year because, for example, at my university we're still having classes, but for the small groups. So all the lectures are online, but seminars are face to face.
oh, okay, okay.
But I don't know what will happen after 1 week.
But last year, did
Because
you have to go 100% online during any period?
we can go because we already have been all the almost all the second semester last year. And also from the first semester that we start on the 1st of October. At the end of October, we've gone 100% online. So actually, only now, at the beginning of this semester, we managed to have 4 weeks in this
In
hybrid.
presence mode, yeah. The
Yes,
hybrid
in
one,
this
yeah.
hybrid system, yes.
Yeah, here we started to, we went 100% online last year. And then when we came back in August, it was doing like a shift between presence mode and online mode, but the presence activities were only, most of them were for the health programs that we have here, because they need in their curriculum to have practice experience. Like for instance, the nursery ones, they have to interact with clients, and the
Yes.
physiotherapy, and so they need to have this in person mode. So what we do in lockdown situation, such as we are now, is that we change the schedule. We put the theory behind first, and then when we hope that we end after like next month, and then we can come back to the practice for the activities for the students.
Okay.
It's a big challenge.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't know how to make with the payment, because I didn't pay yet for the students.
Oh,
Because
Marcia, she's gonna send you the invoice for the
so it will
university.
be with Marcia, not with
Yeah, yeah,
your university. Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah.
your experience will okay, because I already have an experience of paying for other event by PayPal. So it was my
Oh,
first PayPal payment, and now I will pay from my money and then receive the money
from the
back from
university.
university. Yeah.
Oh, great. Yeah, I will let her know that you asked me that, because I believe she will send this information by email next days.
Ah, okay, okay.
And how are your students feeling? The challenge? How can we improve? What are their feedbacks?
I didn't manage to talk with them. Only on Monday I received a feedback from one of my students, and was positive. And after that, I had a very full days, and I even find time to send a message on the WhatsApp. But only two students are mine. So Diana,
Yeah.
Maxim, and Raluca Bumbaru. They are my students. The other four, it's students of my colleague from the Faculty of Business.
Oh, great. Because
Four.
if you want to, the people from Macau, they asked me to have a moment with the students besides our regular moments. So I'm open for have a meeting with them, if you will, just to get some feedbacks and to have some talks. For me, it will be a pleasure.
And we'll have the project evaluation exactly 1 week
Yeah,
after.
26 exactly.
Okay. I forget the hour. When you need for my presence?
It's 8 to 12.
8 to 12. I have to book.
Yeah, Brazilian time. So I
Brazilian
think
time.
it's +5 over there. Plus.
Yes, still 5, because we at the end of March, in the last Saturday of March, we changed the hour, so will be 6 hour. But Friday will still be 5 hours time difference. So I have to book from 8 to 12. That means
Exactly.
in Romania it's 1 p.m. To 5 p.m.
Okay. Professor, just excuse me. Victoria,
Okay.
Professor Victoria, did you receive the room 7 invitation? Did it pop something for you?
No, I don't have any.
No. Oh, Professor Victoria. Sorry.
Okay, okay.
It should appear now, Professor. Can you hear me? Try to get out and get in again. Just a second. Tá conseguindo me ouvir, Vitória? E Vitória faz assim. Can you hear me now, Professor?
Yes.
No, it's fine. Great, thank you. So I will send you to room 7 now. Okay?
Okay.
It should appear something for you right now. It's like a pop-up, like the same one as the, yeah, sure. Professor, I will just go to a quick restroom here, and then I just come back. Just a second, okay? Chegou, Vitória, o convite? Is it showing for you? Yeah, great, thank you.
Caio, tá me ouvindo?
Opa, Jos, tá me ouvindo?
Tô, agora eu não sei porque eu entro nas salas e não funciona o microfone.
É, que estranho. Mas em nenhuma delas, na 8 também não conseguiste?
Eu acho que funcionou em uma só. Agora na primeira não funcionou, na segunda funcionou e agora na terceira não funcionou de novo. Mas aí funciona aqui, aí eu não sei
Qual o problema,
o
né?
problema.
Deixa eu tentar. Tenta entrar e sair de novo, e aí eu te coloco de novo lá na sala.
Mas
Ô,
eu
Caio,
consegui falar com eles no chat.
Ah, consegui dar
É,
uma interagida? Oi, Carlos, te ouço, amigo.
é pra gente voltar aqui ou é pra
Não,
continuar
não,
nessa?
fiquem trabalhando agora, fiquem trabalhando, vocês não vão mais voltar,
Tá bom.
tá bom? Já já vou passar lá com vocês também. Deixa eu ver uma coisa aqui.
tenta me colocar na 5 para eu ver se funciona lá.
Tá, aí que coisa tu
Não,
volta aqui. Tu volta e tu me avisa no WhatsApp que eu vou entrar nas salas também agora, tá bom?
Tá. Agora eu não tenho como eu me colocar nas salas, eu preciso que tu que me coloque,
Não, eu
já.
tenho, eu tenho que te colocar, exatamente.
Tá,
Tá bom? Aí tu me avisa no WhatsApp que eu saio, eu entro e saio.
tá.
Tá bom, valeu. E vida tá vazando aqui, amor.
Ai, Vitória. É, Caio, Caio deve estar nas salas, né? O Caio deve
Uhum.
estar. É que
Ele
eu
tá
estava
na
tentando
sala. Tô esperando ele voltar para
compartilhar.
me botar na próxima. Você precisava falar com
Ah,
ele?
não, eu queria pedir para ele se eu podia compartilhar minha tela com minha equipe. Eu acho que é ele que autoriza, né?
Eu nem sei se dá para fazer isso no. É ele que autoriza, não tem esse poder de host aqui.
Tá. Vou esperar ele voltar.
Eu pedi para ele voltar aqui na sala principal para ele poder me botar na próxima equipe, e aí sim eu ia falar com ele.
Tá bom. Caio?
Oi, Vitória. Tá aí, Vitória?
Oi.
Eu te coloquei lá. Tu
Tinha uma
conseguiste?
aluna, agora apareceu. Tinha uma aluna aqui que estava querendo falar contigo, a Lilian,
Ah,
que ela
Lilian,
queria compartilhar a tela no grupo dela. Não sei se você
eu tenho que
consegue
botar
fazer
ela
isso.
de co-host. É isso que eu não, só isso que eu não gosto do Zoom, que ele tem esse nível de controle muito grande. Tu estás no 4 agora, é? Hein, Vic? É pra tu ires pro room 4 agora ou já saíste de lá?
Eu tô indo para cá.
Pro
Eu vou
4, né?
para 4 agora, então.
Tá
Deixa
bom.
eu ir lá, então.
Apareceu
Até
aí pra
mais.
ti?
Apareceu.
Tá bom, show.
Obrigada.
Valeu, Vicky. Eu acho que agora tu vais poder compartilhar, tá, Lilian?
Tá bom. Obrigada, Caio.
Tá, deixa eu te colocar lá de novo. Eu tenho só que te rapidinho. Não entra nesse ainda, tá?
Tá.
Entra, tu és do 3, né?
Isso.
Tá, vê se apareceu agora um pop-up pra ti.
Apareceu.
Beleza, show.
Vou lá.
Valeu, Lilian.
Obrigada.
Parabéns, querida. Tchau, tchau. Fala, minha amiga, tu tá aqui tu tá nesse... Ah, não, já foi. Sim, dale. Group 2.
Gracias.
Did it close your breakout room, people? Isaac and Mia?
Yeah, we finished our meeting.
Okay, okay. So for today, you're free. If you're already finished, no
Yeah,
worries.
yes.
I hope you have a great work this weekend and on next week, okay?
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
See you Monday. Thank you.
See you. Have a nice day.
See you.
You too.
Caio? Caio?
Diga, minha amiga.
Eu terminei na sala 3, aí falta 2 e a 1, só que eu não sei se eu vou conseguir ficar mais muito tempo.
Deixa eu ver. Como é que tu quer fazer? Dá só um oi lá pra eles e fala que tu tá consegue 5 minutos pra cada?
Consigo. Eu vou dar 5 minutos para cada, então.
Beleza, vou te botar no 2 agora, tá bom?
Tá.
Valeu, vi aqui. Foi. Apareceu?
No Caio.
Falei.
Paga. Sabe onde é que tá a Vitória? Que até agora não foi lá com a gente.
Ela tá saindo daqui a pouquinho do Room 2. Já vai lá com vocês.
Ah, tá, beleza.
Consegue
A gente tava
entrar lá?
esperando aqui. Não, tem que botar de novo, né?
Deixa eu só... Não entra nesse primeiro... Opa, rapidinho. Esse agora.
Foi.
Oi, Isabela, pode voltar lá, ela já tá indo pra lá daqui a pouquinho, tá?
Caio, tô aqui para ir para a última já.
Acho que vai aparecer agora, Vic.
Oi, Caio. Eu terminei aqui com o grupo 1, então eu já passei em todas as equipes, tá?
Pode falar, querida.
Eu terminei o grupo 1, então já passei em todas as equipes. Aí eu vou... Acho que é isso, né? Tu vai continuar aí, vou deixar eles
Por hoje é só.
trabalhando.
Por hoje é só. Eu vou deixar eles trabalhando aqui nos grupos.
Tá. Tu precisa ficar online para eles poderem trabalhar?
Eu preciso estar só ligado o Zoom, que é outra falha
Entendi.
aqui do... O Zoom tem coisas boas, mas também tem coisas que... diferentes do
Eu
Google
acho,
Meet, né?
eu acho que o Google Meet estava funcionando melhor, né? Talvez,
Eu
com
também.
aquela
Agora,
funcionalidade.
com essas novas funcionalidades, eu concordo. É mais porque o pessoal lá de Macau, eles não conseguem entrar no Google Meet. Aí a gente
Entendi,
teve que fazer essa versão toda aqui no Zoom mesmo.
entendi. Mas então tá, ó, na semana que vem eu vou tentar ter mais um horário para a gente fazer as inscrições de mentoria. Eu
Show.
acredito que tipo, em 2 horas eu consigo passar em todas as equipes.
Beleza.
Então eu te aviso um dia
Mais
que eu
tranquilo, né?
consigo,
Tá bom.
tá?
Beleza. Vicky, brigadão, viu, por hoje. Depois me
Falando.
manda só os slides, tá? Em PDF para eu passar para eles.
Tá, eu posso te mandar pelo
Pode ser
WhatsApp?
pelo Zap mesmo.
Tá, eu te mando agora então.
Tá bom. Valeu,
Tchau,
Vicky.
valeu.
Brigadão, querida. Tchau, tchau.
Tchau.